Hello, everybody. I'm Brian,
And I'm Brian.
and this is Brian versus Brian, episode 193, Civil War. Civil War. A freaking directed by Alex Garland. What did he do? He did 28 Days Later.
Yeah, he wrote 28 Days Later, and he wrote Sunshine, the space we need to reboot the sun movie. And
Uh-huh.
then he directed Ex Machina,
That's a good one.
Annihilation, and I think his last movie is called Men. I think that's the only one of his that I didn't really care for. But I really liked
Hmm.
Annihilation, Ex Machina.
Yeah. Uh, Distributed by A24. I'm starting to like these guys. They usually got some wacky, cool stuff. So when was this? This is very, very recently, April 12th, 2024. Budget of 50 million. Box office so far 25.7 million. Um, I imagine that's kind of run of the mill for A24. I don't imagine they don't do big numbers.
Yeah,
So I
I
don't know how
was
they keep
reading
making a lot of movies.
was reading Variety, and this is the highest budget they've ever given a movie, and it's also the
Mm.
biggest opening they've ever had. So it goes to show you they do a lot of small, very small stuff. So, and I think technically the Variety was painting this opening as a success. I think it made like 10 million on Friday. I don't know what Saturday. What did you say? 25 million over the weekend?
25.7.
Yeah, so I think that's probably a win for them, but we'll see if it has any legs.
Yeah, positive reviews. I imagine a lot of their shit comes from DVDs, Blu-rays.
Yeah, totally.
That's what it seems like. Uh, yeah, 50 million. That's kind of surprising. I don't see a lot of that on screen myself. I mean, there is quite a bit of CG,
Yeah.
but it's a pretty grounded, small kind of. Usually in frame is just a couple people running and stuff, but we'll get into that. Okay, so we got Kirsten Dunst. I haven't seen her in something in a while, so
Yeah,
that was
it's been a minute.
interesting.
Yeah.
Got the Peter, please. Yeah, a big Uncle Ben crowd here. All right.
Oh shit.
So we got her as our main character. What's her name? Lee.
Lee.
She's a war photographer in a kind of dystopian near future, realistic near future where there's a civil war brewing in the
Hmm.
United States. We open with President Nick Offerman practicing a speech.
Yeah, so good, so good.
Yeah, and he's going over different ways to say things. We pretty much, gist of the speech is we got him just about beat. Hold
Yeah,
on. People are calling it the greatest
yeah,
triumph
yeah.
of
Military
war
fucking war,
campaign.
yeah, in the history of mankind or whatever. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, so good.
So we got that, and that kind of leads you to believe, okay, so the president and the United States are the good guys. We're about to quell this rebellion here. And she's a war journalist, Lee. She's got a partner with her. What the heck was that guy's name?
Joel.
Mm, Joel. Yeah, duh. Um, and I don't know what he did. She was the photographer. Oh yeah, he was like a reporter because
Yeah, like
he
an
this whole
interviewer, I'm
thing.
assuming. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's the
but he
one
didn't
that does the
interview a
interview.
goddamn person in the whole
Yeah,
fucking movie. So he's just like running around doing nothing.
yeah,
Yeah, because he wanted to interview the president. That's their whole thing. They got to get to Washington D.C. We're gonna interview the president. How are you gonna do that? They'll kill you as soon as you enter the door. Oh, we'll get him. We'll
yeah,
get down there and give him a real hard nosed interview.
yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the
And right
logic
here,
is I think that their logic is that because there's a civil war happening, but in the movie we are kind of put into it at the end of a civil war. Like it's at the end of it. We don't see how it started or what happened in the middle. We're kind of just jumped in towards the end. So the idea is that they know that the WF is going to take over the White. So they need to get there before the WF, and the president knows he's about to get taken out. So the idea is like we beat the WF there. He'll definitely get an interview because he knows the time's up, and it'll be the best, most important interview. Yada yada. So that's kind of their. I don't know if I quite buy that, but that's their motivation.
yeah. And we know that there's the Western forces, which is Texas and California, which is a very strange team up that they would
Yeah.
agree on anything. And then kind of like the normal USA. They say there's some other ones, but they
Yeah,
don't really
yeah,
get too specific. I'm looking right here, and it's got actually a map. And so this is the first I'm learning of this. We got the Loyalist states, which is pretty much Washington D.C., Nevada's in there, kind of got a middle swath of
yeah.
the U.S. Then we got the New People's Army, which is kind of Pacific Northwest, creeping a little bit further into the middle of the USA.
Hmm.
Then the Florida Alliance, which is Florida and 6 other states, and then the Loyalist states, uh, which is all it was all really cool stuff that I would have liked to know more about.
Yeah.
Uh, did I assume you didn't watch the trailer to this movie?
I did after I saw it. I usually, when I
Mm,
don't watch a trailer, I usually go watch the movie and I come home and then because I like watching trailers, but I just like to do it
yeah.
afterwards. But yeah, I did end up watching it.
So from watching the trailer, I was excited. I wanted to see this movie. And this movie ended up being absolutely nothing like what I thought it would be from the trailer.
Yeah.
The trailer kind of makes you think it's going to be a, because it's got that, what's that guy's, Jesse Plemons or
Plemons.
whatever.
Yeah, Plemons.
Plemons, Kristen Dunst's husband, is like the main part of the trailer, just that scene. And
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be fucking sick. We just got some Civil War shit going on. It's gonna have an evil character like doing stuff, and
Yeah.
I assume more evil characters doing stuff. And yeah, he's in it for about 5 minutes, and I was super disappointed. I was like,
It is
oh shit.
arguably the best scene of the whole fucking movie. It
Oh
really
yeah,
is. Oh
definitely the
yeah.
best scene in the whole
Yeah.
movie. So good. But we'll get to that one. Uh, but yeah, total curveball on what the hell this movie is. I don't know if that helps you, having a trailer that makes your movie seem like one thing and then people go in and it's completely different. Because this
Yeah.
is a very slow burn. You think it's going to be more of a uh, complete view of like war and evil guys killing people, and it's really just about Joel, Lee, what's the girl's name? Jessie,
Hmm.
and then they got their older pal, forget
Oh,
his name,
Sammy.
Sammy, uh, and that's it. Kind of that's the core. Just on this um, road trip in a truck across the country trying to get to DC,
Hmm.
and all the things they encounter are really small until the very end, when we get a little bit more, but it's not a lot. Um, and so I forget, how do they meet Jesse?
Lee and Jesse meet. Lee's in New York to cover. It was unclear what the protest was for. I think it had to do with supplies. But there's this truck of supplies, and some people in New York are like trying to fight the police, trying to get supplies. Because I remember one lady being like, "We need
Mm.
water." Anyways, there's like a big protest thing happening, and she's there to cover it. And
Yeah, and the
Jesse's,
cop smacks
yeah,
Jesse in the
Jesse,
face with a baton.
yeah,
Lee comes over, puts gives her press vest, which is somehow going to save her. Put this on. No, I couldn't. No, I couldn't possibly.
yeah.
Put it
Just
on.
put it on. The fuck?
And then they're all the press is like staying in a hotel, and then right, and Jesse shows up at the hotel for some reason.
Yeah, there's like a bombing that Lee kind of technically saved
Oh
for a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit, and then yeah, there's a hotel where all the journalists are shooting the shit, drinking, and then Jesse shows up to thank her and give her vest back.
yeah. The suicide bomber runs at the truck with a USA
USA
flag.
flag, yeah. Get some.
Yeah. Then she tells Lee, "Yeah, you're my hero." That's a weird hero to have. A war journalist, photographer, just a photographer too. You're not even
Yeah,
writing stories. You're just photography by da da da. Oh my,
yeah,
that's my hero. And she's done a lot of the big conflicts in a lot of really famous photos. And this girl, Jessie, wants to be just like her. And she's got a camera, an old camera from her
mhm,
dad or something. It takes real film, so she's
yeah. She's serious. She means
she's all
business.
about it. Yeah. And then Kirsten Dunst is like, I knew a photographer once. Peter.
With great power comes great responsibility.
um. So yeah, she tells her about that, and then we get a little scene with Joel, Lee, and dang it, what was the old guy's name again?
Sammy.
Sammy. And Sammy's saying, "You guys are going to Washington D.C. You're crazy." He's kind of like the old wise sage. He's the Obi-Wan, I
Yeah, he's
guess.
like a
He's
veteran. Yeah.
yeah, he's been around. And what are you trying to tag along with us? No, I mean if you got an extra seat, I mean I wouldn't mind, you know.
Yeah.
And he ropes himself into going with them. And then, do they see Jesse again before the next day?
Yeah, so they real quick before we got there's a good chuckle at our theater. I don't know if you caught this. Sarah actually told me because I didn't catch it, but there's dialogue that Joel has, and Joel is Brazilian, the actor, and so for a little bit it was kind of hard for me. I was trying to acclimate to his accent and to kind of there's some time early on I was just trying to I had a hard time understanding what he was saying. But there's a moment in the hotel when they're all three of them are discussing. He's talking about other states, and he says the Portland Maoist. So Portland in this universe has become basically communist. So the whole theater laughed at that. I thought that was pretty funny. I didn't catch it but Sarah told me. Anyways, yeah. So Jesse confronts Lee on the way up to her hotel room, and then she's basically like, see you later. I got to go to my room. And then Jesse sticks around, and then that's kind of the last we see until the morning. So we don't know why she stuck around until they get to the car, and then you find out.
Yeah, I think we see her approaching like them still
Yeah.
sitting there. So she's gonna try and work her way in. Next morning, they're all getting in the car, and then Lee looks in the car, and there's Jesse in the car. What the fuck is
What
she
the fuck?
doing here?
Yeah.
And then she's trying to learn. She wants to learn. She wants to be just like you. You're her hero. And she's not fucking going. She's too young. Well, she's like 23. How old were you when you started? Everyone has to have their start.
Yeah.
And so she begrudgingly lets her stay. And then we get started on this road trip. I don't remember if anything really happens on the road trip before they see this car of people they know. Oh, did they
Yeah.
stop at that one little battle first?
The gas station, I think, is the first kind of sequence. So they
Oh,
stop to get
okay.
gas, and there's some like armed gas attendants. Yeah.
Yeah. We're just here to get some gas. And we have money. And what did he say about the money? I have 300 for gas they offer for a tank and 2 cans. 300 won't get you a sandwich.
Yeah.
And she's like, Canadian. And he's like,
Hmm.
oh.
Why
All
didn't you say
right.
so?
Now you're speaking my language, stranger. Plenty of nice gas for you. And then I like how Jesse just wanders around. There's all these armed, shady looking men. She just wanders around the back of the gas station. No one thinks much of it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
she's going for a walk. And I think, what is Jesse, not Jesse, but Joel end up following her?
No, it was Lee because she ends up taking
It was
him.
Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lee ends up following her, but not really saying anything, kind of staying back and let her just explore. I'll just watch her while she explores.
Yeah.
And in the back, there's what, 2 guys hanging from like a rafter?
Yeah. Inside the car wash, like this tiny little car wash building, you can see all the
All
sodas.
strung up.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh yeah, they're looters. I'm trying to decide what to do with them. I don't know if we want to torture them for a couple more days or maybe just shoot them right now. And who takes pictures of them? Was it Jesse or was
It
it?
was it was Lee because her whole thing after this was like I didn't even take like she's so distraught about what she saw that she
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
But I love that it's so like kind of this movie's both overtly disturbing but also subtly disturbing. I think this is one of those because like the soldier guy, no, he's not even a soldier. He's just some fucking dude. He's like, yeah, I went to high school with that guy. I used to know him. It's like, like just thinking about that, the fact that you have someone strung up that you went to high school with that you almost beat nearly to death is really
Yeah,
just
and he's like, it's all right. He didn't talk to me much.
yeah.
I bet he, or I think he said something like, I bet he wish he did now.
Yeah, but yeah. Damn.
And yeah, and I think the whole theme or whatever moral of this movie is this violence. She thinks that by taking photographs of it, she's bringing awareness to it,
Hmm.
but she has this subtle uh, internal conflict that maybe she's perpetuating the violence by desensitizing everyone.
Yeah.
by showing the photos and making it commonplace. But she thinks the good of the photos outweighs the bad, like, taking photos of someone as they're dead or dying.
Yeah, and the fact that she clearly has PTSD. There's a moment in the hotel we cut to her in a bathtub and she's like reflecting on all the fucked up shit. Which, by the way, there's one scene. I think it's like a sequence where a group of men, a group of black men, are like beating on some guy, and then there's like the shot that holds on the guy, and they pour like gasoline on him and set him on fire. I'm like, how the fuck did they do that? Because that looked very real. They look like they really set that man on fire. I was like, what kind of cinema magic is that? It's like Jesus.
Yeah, and I think she also goes into, we don't care what happens. You can't
Yeah,
feel
we
for
can't take
anybody.
sides. We have to like,
Yeah, we don't take sides. We
yeah.
don't feel bad.
Hmm.
We don't feel good. We just take the picture and we let the public decide
Correct. Yeah.
what's in the picture.
Oh yeah, it was like something like we don't ask. We're not the ones that ask the questions. We take the pictures for the people
So others can ask.
that ask the
Yep.
question. Yeah.
And yeah, so can I get a picture? He's like, yeah. You want to get up there? And it makes him like stand in the middle of the
Hmm.
two strung up guys, and yeah, it was pretty funny. Well, pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
And then he tries to make them decide whether to kill him or beat him and let him go or something. I don't remember if they actually say anything. I think they just leave at that point.
Yeah, I
They
think
don't
they
really
leave. Yeah.
answer the question. Um, yeah, then they're driving along, and this car starts following them, and it's very like The Last of Us. Like they're on freeways and cars are just stopped, and they're
Yeah.
having to like take crazy routes and stuff. And this car comes up. This car is following us. Oh my god, who do you think it is? I was like, I don't know. Slow down, let him pass. I think Joel says, or the old guy. I don't remember. And as they're coming up, and he's like, don't look at him. Just look
Let them
forward,
pass on
drive, and
by. Yeah. Nothing wrong.
and then they come up, and it's some crazy Asian guy. Hey, how's it going, Lee? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, you scared the shit out of me. And they obviously know him. And there's some other guy in the back seat, and he, for some reason, transfers over to their car, like climbs in the window. Hey, this is fucking fun, huh?
Yeah.
And then Jesse's like, I want to do it. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do it, and climbs into the other car. Like, why the fuck are you doing this? Seems fun. This is fun.
Hmm.
And they're going really fast, and they kind of lose them, and they keep going, and they don't see their car anymore. It's like, oh my, where'd they go? And then Lee is worried for Jesse. And then they pull up, find the car pulled over. They pull over, go around like the back of this like house, and then see all these militiamen that have them captured. I don't remember what group they're supposed to be with of the four, if any.
Yeah. I interpreted them as like rogue, fucked up, like people maybe who used to be ex-military and they've gone on to like do their own thing. Because you kind of see this in war a lot, where like people, soldiers or generals, they go to the extreme and they start kind of their own thing off to the side and do like war
So
crimes.
it says here Jesse Plemons makes an uncredited appearance as an ultra nationalist militiaman. So I imagine he's part of the U.S.
Yeah.
then, if you're ultra nationalist, right? I guess which makes sense with his dialogue. And yeah, this is the best scene of the damn
Yeah. Oh
movie.
yeah. So
And this movie
tense. Jesus.
should have been all of this. This should have been the movie, and that's what I was thinking from the trailer. And so they're like, "Oh, we got to go over there and help him." And the old man's like, "We will die. I have a feeling. Okay, we
Yeah.
go over there, we die. I
Everything
just
in my
feel it.
bones is telling
I
me that
know
this is death. Yeah.
it." And it's like, "What are you gonna do? To go talk to him?" And it's like, these people do not want to be seen doing what they're doing because
Yeah.
they have like a dump truck full of dead bodies. They're
Yeah.
pouring in a giant hole in the ground and burying.
It's like not the people you want to
And
approach.
it's like, well, they're burying people. Like, and then that guy was like, well, are the people in uniform? No. I think, we don't want to go over there. But really, it seems like nobody's in uniform other than the USA.
Yeah.
Because all the time they're fighting, there's like Hawaiian shirts and stuff, and all
Yeah,
this whack.
the only time you see the WF in uniform is at the very end, and the only reason why I know that is because their fucking patch. I don't know if you caught this. I want one of these patches so bad, just because like I think it'd be cool. But they have a patch of the American flag with just two stars on it, and you're like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, I do. I remember them putting up the flag
Yeah,
with that. Um, which is intense. Like two states could just battle the whole country and win. But I guess Texas, California are pretty fucking big,
Yeah, and they got ally states, so that probably helps. But yeah.
and Texas got a lot of guns.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so they walk over there, and the old man Sammy sticks back. He's like, "Oh fuck this!" He just stays over there, and they walk up. Hey, excuse us. Hello, how are you? These are our colleagues, and so they have the Asian guy who's driving and Jesse, right?
Yeah, yeah, just
And who
those
walks
three.
over there? Joel, Lee, and then the other guy who's
Yeah.
in the car, the
Hmm.
passenger in the other car. So they all walk over there. Your colleagues, huh? Hmm. Yeah, it seems to be a misunderstanding, really. Like Jesse is just so good, dude. He's just such a creepy
He's
dude.
so good. Yeah.
And he's got like pink fluorescent glasses
Yeah, for
on
no, yeah,
over
plastic.
just a
Yeah.
military garb. And oh, what seems to be the misunderstanding? Well, we were just journalists, and like, huh? And oh yeah, and I think who is it? Jesse who says, "Yeah, we're Americans." Oh, huh? What kind of American? And
Yeah.
then just that line,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Where are you from?" And then I think, what does Jesse or what does Joel say? Florida?
He says Florida. Yeah.
Florida? He doesn't like that too much. And then Colorado, I think, is another person's state.
Yeah, it was Lee's. Yeah.
And then he's talking to the Asian guy, and where are you from? What happens first? Is it the Asian guy who
So
goes?
I think what makes it tense, I mean, it's already a tense scene, but I think what elevates it is when they approach and they're like, hey, these are our colleagues, misunderstanding. And Plemons, without hesitation, he kind of points, he's just standing there and he's like,
Oh
this guy's
yeah,
your colleague? And they're like, yeah. And then he just fucking straight up shoots him. And then the whole scene
him?
is just like, oh my God. And then the American stuff starts to, and then he asks Jesse where she's from, and she said early on in the movie that her parents live in Missouri, and they're pretending like none of this is happening. And so Lee's like, "Tell him, Jesse," as if signaling her, say Missouri. We don't actually know where Jesse is. I mean, I guess Missouri, right? If her parents live there. So she says Missouri, and then what is the state slogan or something? The Show Me State? Because he says something like, "Oh, the Show Me State. Why do they call it that?" She's
What does
like,
that mean?
"Well, yeah, what does that mean?" I don't know. You don't know what that means. You're from Missouri. It's like, ugh.
And then they move on to that Asian guy. And, so,
Yeah.
and where are you from? And he's like petrified, like crying and shaking.
Hmm.
And I think someone says, "Answer him." And then he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna." And then Jesse says something like, "Yeah, you're gonna need to speak."
Yeah. You speak
And
English? Are you deaf? Whatever comes.
yeah,
He says something like, "Whatever words come out of your mouth, better be plain fucking English," or something. I was like, Jesus Christ.
and then he says, "Hong Kong." He says, "Hong Kong, China," and I think he nods his head yes. And then he just shoots him right in the
Instantly,
chest.
yeah. Boom.
And now they're all freaking out. And yeah, then we get what the heck? Sammy rolling up in the truck because he was hiding back and kind of hits Jesse Plemons with the truck, and then Jesse the character falls into the pit
Yeah.
somehow, and she's on the bodies and freaking out, and they got to pull her out, and then they leave. But yeah, man, that scene,
Yeah.
I wanted more of
Jesus.
that. That's what I was hoping this movie was going to be, just a bunch of like kind of Last of Us type stuff. Who's the real enemy? Just normal humans that are left. That's what I kind of thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's what I
And then,
love about most about them. I mean, there's cool themes that I liked, and there's a lot I like about it. But one of the things that I really liked about the movie is that almost every scene in this movie, when they stop their car to do something, it's always tense. Like you're waiting for something to happen, even if something doesn't. You're still wait. Like you think something bad's gonna happen. I mean, this is the apex of tense, scenes in the movie. But it's like whether they're showing up to like an abandoned winter wonderland, they're like, oh, you're like, fuck, what's gonna happen? Or they stop to get gas, you're like, oh, there's guys with guns. Like, there's so many scenes that kind of keep you on the edge of your seat, like wondering what the fuck's gonna happen. But this one by far was the most tense for sure.
Yeah, was it the Winter Wonderland or that like apartment complex shootout first?
The apartment shootout was first.
Okay, so they move on, and then they somehow we just show up in an apartment complex shootout, and there's some military guys, like I said before, like wearing like Hawaiian shirts with like some gear over it, and they're fighting like U.S. military looking guys,
Yeah.
and they're following them around and just real weird shit, like right up on them when they're shooting people, and
Hmm.
there's that black guy hiding behind a pillar, and they're trying to give cover so we can come back to cover, and popping out shooting like you gotta move, and he starts moving, starts running like he's in a dream. Just a slow gets shot a couple times.
Hmm.
And was it was it Jesse who took a photo of him when he was dead? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now she's kind of becoming the Lee character,
Yeah.
and Lee is kind of becoming her for some reason. Like she's kind of not into it anymore, like not digging the death and stuff, and not really taking pictures during this.
Hmm.
She's just kind of sitting there, and then Jesse's really into it, just taking lots of pictures and like right up there. And I think Lee even has to tell her, get back here. Like she's trying to go up with him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
She's
there's
starting to
that
become
scene.
desensitized to
Oh yeah,
violence. Yeah.
and I think that's where we start to get a change in that theme coming in. That Lee is realizing that I don't think these photos are really doing anything but making people more attracted to the violence,
Yeah.
and they're not seeing it as real violence. Because she says something like, "Is it does the picture really convey the death, or because you're looking through a camera and then you're looking at a photo, does it really mean the same?" Um, and they move on from there. And then this weird ass winter wonderland. This is where the budget seems small. It's just like this little road with a couple little trinkets on the side and music
Yeah.
playing, like Christmas
Yeah.
music. And like, oh, and then I think they stop,
Yeah. They get
right?
shot
And
at. Yeah. They get shot at and then they stop
and
for cover. Yeah.
I think the old man dies before this, though, right?
No,
Is
this
it?
is actually early on in
No.
the movie. Yeah, this is early.
Okay.
The Jesse Plemons is actually like way later on. All
Okay.
the shootout happened before, and the Wonderland stuff happened before.
Gotcha. So they go to the Winter Wonderland, which is apparently before this scene, but they stop, and what was the old man Sammy like? I don't have a good feeling about this.
Yeah,
We'll just drive through, and they drive through, and they start getting shot at, and then they see two more militiamen set up, sniping like this U.S. military guy in a building. There's one of them in there, and they're just talking to him, asking questions to the scout who's not the shooter. And then this is another weird thing. Like the sniper, I think, has like painted nails
yeah. It's like weird, kind of like color rainbow, like yellow and blue and green, kind of
and like
marks on his face.
dyed hair or
Yeah,
something, and painted nails, and they're all just really eclectic, but fighting. And they're asking all these questions to the scout, and then the sniper's like, "Hey, you guys need to shut the fuck up."
yeah,
And then I think he finally fucking pops one in there and says, "Got him," or something like
yeah.
that.
Dude, that's a pretty funny scene because the Joel rolls up next to him and he's like, "What's going on?" And the scout's like, "Well, some guys hold up in there, shot at us, so we're shooting at him." And they're like, "Well, what side is he on? Do you know?" And they're like, "I don't know. He shot at us."
No,
And then the guy's like, "Well,
no, he's
why are you
like, he's
shooting or
trying to
something?"
kill us.
Yeah,
We're gonna try and kill him.
yeah. And he keeps asking questions, and the scout's like, "Oh, I get it. You are a retard." And he looks at the Jesse and he's like, "Hey, do you know what's going on here?" And she's like, "There's someone shooting at you, and you're shooting at them." And he looks at him, and he's like, "She gets it." I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, and then they move on from there, and then that's where we get the Jesse Plemons scene.
Yeah, I think so.
That's pretty cool that he would do that, like uncredited. Obviously, it's his wife. It's the
Hmm.
main character in the movie, so that makes sense. And after that, I think they get like to a military base.
Yeah, they get to Charlottesville, which is like the Western Front's kind of home base before all the DC stuff. And Sammy also got shot during the Jesse Plemons escape.
Escape, and
Yeah.
he dies. And then we get a real turnaround of Lee as she takes a photo of him dead, and then deletes it.
Deletes it.
No,
Yeah.
not
Not
today.
anymore.
And Jesse's getting more and more excited about everything. And then they see some other press who's also at the camp, and they let him know that no, the president's about to surrender. The
Yeah.
war's gonna be over. If you guys are trying to get there, you better fucking hurry up.
Yeah.
You got no time. Like they're about to surrender. The last stand is happening and all that. And so they go down there with the military, and they're in Washington D.C. and there's some pretty cool scenes of like shootouts and bombs and missiles going off at like the Washington Monument and stuff
Yeah.
like
I
that.
was like,
And
holy
Lincoln
shit.
Memorial, like
Yeah. I was like, I can't believe I'm fucking watching this right now. This is wild.
like pretty crazy shit. And then they finally get into like the near the White House, and oh, the president's leaving. They see people getting into cars and like limos, and they're trying to escape with tanks and like fucking 50 cals. It's a
Yeah, good
bulletproof
luck.
car, but come on,
Yeah.
dude. And then yeah, they wreck, and then who was it that said no, the president's not in there?
I think it was Lee. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they continue towards the White House. They're like, no, the president's not in there. As they're approaching that car, thinking the president's in there. And then, like, some, Secretary of State or something, some
Yeah.
cabinet member comes out. No, the president would like to surrender. And they just shoot her down, dude. And they start following the press people because they're like, oh, no, they're going back. They know something. They get into the White House. Some really cool shootout stuff, like Secret Service and shit,
Yeah.
just taking them out. And we did find out that the president. We start to learn more about the president, and the U.S. might be the bad guys because he's on his third term,
Yeah.
and apparently he's like a dictator, and he's bombed his own people to try and get WF people.
Disbanded the FBI. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a tyrant.
And so they're getting in there, and they finally get into the press build. What the fuck is that room called? The press room. Where
Yeah.
the president would usually stand at the podium, or the secretary of whatever the hell it's called, the speaker would talk to the press, and sometimes the president would talk. They're in there, and the lady comes out trying to negotiate the surrender of the president. He's got to be able to get out. We want safe passage to what the fuck did they say?
It was
Nicaragua or something.
Alaska and another state. I don't remember, but I remember specifically
Something.
them saying Alaska.
And they're like, okay. I don't remember why or how it got to that, but they're kind of talking with it. And then they just shoot her.
Yeah. They're just like, fuck that. Pop, pop, pop.
And then they, uh, when it must be before that, or was it
Yeah.
after that
It's the first person they come in contact with is that woman, and then they continue on, and then they're stuck in the hallway in a firefight with those secret agent guys.
yeah, right outside the Oval Office, I would assume.
Yeah.
And then Jesse is really up there with the guys, and like somehow she gets in the middle of the hallway where the gunfire is, and all the military dudes, the WF, are like on the sides taking cover. She's in the middle of the hallway, and Lee sees it, and Lee has not taken like any pictures
Yeah.
inside. She's like, the whole time I was like, what the fuck is wrong with her? Because she's like fucking crying and like really disheveled, and she's supposed to be like done it all, but she's kind of turned into the rookie character through all this, and kind of changed her whole
Yeah.
mindset.
It's like she's hit her limit, is kind of what I took.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Jesse's kind of the one who's just full force in there, just taking all these pictures and loving it. And so she's in the middle of the hallway, and Lee sees that, and then she's like, "No!" Runs over there, pushes her down, takes a bullet, and Jesse like takes
Yeah.
pictures as Lee is following over her, like shot her last moments, and doesn't even think much of it. Well, she was a little. She was a little
shocked a little bit.
Yeah, she was a little shocked because I remember Joel comes over and helps her up, and she's just like, "Ugh,"
Yeah.
and doesn't even like look at her body again.
Hmm.
You think
Walks
she would?
off. Yeah.
I'm thinking she's gonna turn around and take more pictures, but she doesn't. But she just walks off and continues into the Oval Office with them. And yeah, they get in the Oval Office, and Nick Offerman is in there, and they got him on the ground, and she's taking pictures, and I think they're gonna kill him, of course. And he says to Joel, "No, you can't let him please don't let him kill me.
Oh no,
It's like,
before he's like, wait, 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 and then the soldier's like, what? And Joel's like, I need a quote, and then
I need a
that's
quote.
yeah,
And then, yeah, can I get a quote? And he's like, please don't let him kill me. And then I think Joel says, okay.
yeah, enough, yeah, that'll do, or something like that.
And they shoot him. And last frames of the movie are photos of him, like, getting
Mm.
shot on the ground. And that's it. Um, yeah, I enjoyed it, but it certainly wasn't at all what I thought it was going to be. I really came away wanting more. Like, man, this is a really interesting story. I wanted more of like the WF and the history of how this all came to be, but they really don't give you any of that at all.
Yeah,
None. And so you're just left to wonder. And I thought, man, I wanted more of that. Like, that's super interesting how this would come to be. Um, but yeah, it's really just a tiny story about these four news people in a in very, it's only maybe four shootouts, maybe
yeah,
five, very small. So that's why I was perplexed by the budget too of 50 million. But there is a lot of CG, like helicopters and
yeah.
planes
Towards
and
the end, it gets yeah,
explosions and
pretty,
yeah,
pretty crazy.
the DC part obviously that costs a lot of money because that looked really good. Yeah, I liked it. I don't know. Maybe I would have liked it more if my expectations weren't subverted by the trailer, and maybe I wasn't pitched something other than what I got. So that's the problem there. People might be jaded from catching the trailer. People that would have liked the movie more, but then like, well, that's not what I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah,
But it was still pretty good. I enjoyed it. Um, yeah, I just came away really wanting more of that story and that world because I thought it was so interesting. Um, but overall, with all that said, for me, it's probably 7.1. Pretty good. Liked it. Wish I would have got a little more.
mm. Yeah. I think we're for for once, in the last couple of weeks, we've kind of been pretty close. But much higher. I fucking love this movie. I actually went and saw it twice. I went and saw it again last night.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, maybe that has to do. You saw the trailer, I didn't, so I didn't really. I knew like a vague premise of what the movie was, but I didn't know like what I was getting myself into. So maybe that has a little bit to do with it. I'm sure it is. Because yeah, I did watch the trailer, and it seemed more like an action-packed movie than what you're actually given. So I'm very sympathetic to that notion. But I don't know. I'm always drawn to these like I don't know if you feel the same, but I'm always drawn to these kind of like point A to point B journey into darkness kind of movies. You don't get very many of these, but when they do, I typically find them fascinating. Like Children of Men or Apocalypse Now, The Last of Us to a certain extent. Spec Ops: The Line is another good video game that's point A to point B. And it's like the movie's kind of structured when like just these little moments that just beat by beat, they just
yeah.
stop and have a little scene, and it gets more tense and more tense as it goes along, and then it kind of crescendos with this big battle. But yeah, like I said, I think the most thing I loved about this movie is just the sense of tension. Obviously, the second time I saw it wasn't as tense because I was kind of I wanted to, like you. There was a lot of questions I had at the end of the first viewing that I didn't feel like I had answers for, and I feel like when I came back the second time, I felt like I could piece together more of the backstory with some of the dialogue because it's not spoon fed to us, but there is like hints of explanation. Like, I guess I'll give you some of my theories, but I feel like Texas and California, the fact that the president, abused his power, went through a third term, disbanded the FBI, has kind of made the press the enemy because I think at some point they were saying that like press isn't even allowed in DC; they'll shoot you on sight. So, so it makes me think that like Texas and California knew it was getting like America was getting so fucking bad that they were like, "Fuck you, we're gonna go start our own government and our own thing." I thought that's just a fascinating concept that those two states specifically were like, "This has gotten so bad that we will drop our differences and like do our own thing."
Yeah.
And then in terms of like why they're fighting, the only thing I can come up with is the other thing that Sammy mentions is that the president bombed civilians. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to think that the civilians that were bombed were either Californians or Texans or both. Maybe he bombed both states, and so to retaliate, now there's a war because hey, the United States just bombed us. Now we're going to war, motherfuckers. So that's kind of my take on why and how. But again, it's not really explicitly said. It's just kind of like these little bits of information. But yeah, I loved it, man. I love point A to point B movies. I think it's acted well. I think there's some cool themes, great moments of tension, great action. Even that small shootout in the abandoned apartment building was pretty exciting and loud and like, I don't know, it's very visceral. I like the use of music. I think De La Soul starts playing during that abandoned shootout. Like towards the end, like they go up to the top and there's like a screaming U.S. military soldier covered in blood. He's like, "Oh, help me!" And they just shoot him point blank. And then all of a sudden, De La Soul starts playing. You're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then they take those three soldiers out in the field and they have like that fucking guy just like mow them down, all to De La Soul. There's no dialogue. So I like the use of music. I don't know, man. I loved it. I really did. The fact to go see it again, to me, this is in the nines. For me, I really enjoyed it. This is one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. I was coming today with 9.2. Really, really liked it. Yeah, loved it.
9.2. Wow. Yeah. Liked it. Didn't love it. I knew we would be probably far apart on this. This is your alley, not mine. The 824.
I mean, seven's a good
You
score,
know.
though. I mean, it's not like you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Seven's a pretty good score.
But yeah, like you said, the audio was pretty intense, like loud explosions and gunshots, followed by complete silence. Which I was like, man, quit having so much silence. It's like I can't
Yeah.
even eat popcorn during this scene. It's like so just quiet until.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the audio mix was visceral and pretty great. But yeah, 7.1, 9.2. You said 2?
Yeah.
7.1, 9.2. Go check it out in theaters. Help get that running total a little higher so these guys can continue to bring these interesting movies out. I don't think they really need any help. They release
Yeah.
so many movies a year, A24.
Yeah. Quite a bit.
How they do it. They got a cult following, obviously. So yeah, that's it. 7192. Check it out. We appreciate you coming by every Sunday as always. And Apple Music, we got the podcast. Spotify, we got the podcast. And then YouTube, we got the videos. So come join us. We'd love to have you. Like and subscribe. Come hang out all the time, please. Okay, we don't want to have a civil war. We all got to get along. We all got to sit down on Sunday and talk about movies, all right? So until the next Vs, we're always going to tell you, peace.
Peace.